Okay, well, this is a bit awkward. You probably know more about this build than I do at the moment, because I'm sure you probably read the video title before you started watching this, like a normal person. Unless you just randomly clicked on it, which seems unlikely. But anyway, I have this other part of a pickaxe from a previous project. I don't really know how much steel I can make with this, but what I'm gonna do is I'll probably cut it about here and here, so that way I have this. This seems walled, so I might cut that off as well. But since I don't actually know how much steel is really in this once I start hammering it out, I don't know whether it's gonna be like a machete, a short sword, big knife, some long sword, unlikely but possible. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut it, throw it in the forge and start hammering it out, and then kind of decide from there. But again, since you've seen the test video, which I always put at the very beginning, you already know what this looks like and I don't. So, awkward. Okay, not really, but you know, that's how it goes. Okay, now that I have the rough forging of my blade finished, I decided to go with the design of the Whaler's sword from the Dishonored games. This is a bit shorter than most of the pictures I've seen, but the general shape is the same. I don't know, I've always kind of wanted to make one of these, and I'll probably make another one that is actually more accurate to the game. So don't get too mad at me. I'll do that eventually. Okay, so now that I have the flats ground and an edge ground in with a, well, you can really see the secondary bevel on there. It's not all the way in, but that'll save me a bit of time when it's actually heat treated. Basically, to those who don't know, that makes it a bit stronger, where this is a little whiter, but once that's sharp, once that cleaves into something, that's a lot easier to slice through. Basically, you're able to have a tougher blade that's pretty much as sharp. I've done this with blades in the past, and I took one and hammered it onto a nail, and it just cut the nail with no damage to the edge. So, same steel too. Actually, it was the other half of the pickaxe. That's way off topic. Now, if you see pictures from the game, or have played the game, which I don't know how many of you have, but it's a fun game. I'd recommend playing it. Anyway, the game has a piece that sits on here and comes onto the handle a little ways, as well as a pommel that kind of comes out a little bit as well. I'm not going to make mine exactly like the game, because making things exactly like they are in the game would be kind of lame. And I think theirs are brass, which I don't really have the equipment to work with. So I'm going to carve mine from steel, because that's just what I do. Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my piece of steel, trace basically this section, or probably more up here, trace that out, cut it, or I'm actually going to cut two of them, and I'm going to drill at least one hole all the way through all of them, so that way I can pin this in place before heat treat. You want to drill before it's hardened, because drilling through hardened steel is even harder than drilling through normal steel, which is already difficult. But then I'm also going to drill a couple holes for my wood handle, and drill. Well, actually, I'm gonna have to make the pommel piece, which I don't quite know how I'm gonna do that yet. So I'll probably decide that once after I get this part made. Okay, now that I have it cut out, I got 2 of them made, 1 for each side. So I'm gonna drill a hole in that to fit a nail. I don't know what the size will be. I'll let you know once I find the nail I'm gonna use. But my basic plan is I'm gonna drill a hole, then I'm gonna shape it a bit. And yeah, I'll probably shape it. Then I will probably drill a couple holes for the handle, and then I'll work on this part here. I was just thinking I was going to put these in the forge to kind of darken them. I find if you heat cycle something a few times, you get some scale on and get some really good designs. Actually, you know what? I might still do that. Rough assemble everything, grind it the shape. Yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do. So yeah, so I'm gonna drill a hole in that, shape it, go from there. Always make sure a bit's well lubricated. So after getting it fitted up a little bit, I was looking at some pictures, and basically the way their designs have, this part is grind down a little closer, and then this is sloped. So I'm gonna kind of grind that in a little bit. Again, this isn't an exact replica. This is more just the same basic blade shape, but a lot shorter. But I'm gonna try and make it sort of close to where if you look at it and look at the whaler's sword, you see, oh, hey, that's what this is. But I was looking at it, and after holding it, it's gonna fit in hand about like this. Wow, that is uncomfortable. Hopefully it'll be better once you get wood in. But I have to cut that down a little bit, because I'm gonna have a piece that sits probably about here. That's gonna work as the pommel. This is basically, well, I think theirs has like the thinner tang like most swords would be. But I'm actually making this more like a messer, which to me is kind of the way they're designed, so. I actually might make a messer sometime. I should do that. I'll get to that eventually. Anyway, so yeah, I'm gonna take these out, grind that down, and then just shape it a little bit. I'll just use an angle grinder. I'll go through, once I get the handle made, I'm gonna go and sand everything to where it's the same, and then do the same with that. So that way I can have these finished and shaped the exact way I want them before I heat cycle them, which will make it, have a nice dark gray to contrast, or actually not the contrast, but to fit with the blade. Which, the way I make a lot of swords is I'll sand it more or less smooth, and then when I heat treat and temper it, I'll just leave all the scale and stuff on there, making it look really rough, which it doesn't have in the game. They appear to be a smooth sword with a pattern here, and then it looks etched, maybe. It's hard to tell, the game is very stylized, but I think it would look cool the way I do it. On account of my inability to come up with a decent plan, I don't really know how I was going to make the pommel. I was originally just going to cut it off this piece of, I think, like 1 inch by 1/2 inch, just piece of steel. But then looking at the pictures, it has a similar thing to what's up here, where the metal piece goes in the handle a little bit. So then I was trying to think of a way to forge it without taking a giant chunk of steel, which I could do, but really don't want to do. And I was thinking about maybe just using a bolt, but I don't really have to deal with threads, and I don't think that would look very well when I'm done. So what I'm going to try and do is thin this out and then kind of forge a hook at the end of it. I don't know how well it's going to go, but it's either that or it's going to try and modify a railroad spike to more or less do the same thing. And it's cold out here, and I kind of wanted the forge going to warm myself up. So I'll just chuck this in the forge, and I should be able to hammer it out, but if not, I'll have to come up with something different, and you'll probably never see this clip. Or maybe you will. Okay, I have my basic design forged. It didn't go quite according to plan, but I'm going to have to cut this a little shorter, clean everything up, straighten it. This is where I'm gonna cut out the notch so it fits on the tang. And then once I get everything cleaned up, I'm gonna drill a hole all the way through it so that way I can pin it in place. This is a similar setup to what I did with some Bowie knives I made a month or two ago. Okay, let's see if I can get my camera. There it goes. Okay, so I have everything cut and shaped. The only thing I've left to do before I actually finish the blade is I'm gonna sand around this, mostly just around the wood parts. Or not around the wood, but I'm gonna sand the wood around the metal parts so that way I can darken these, and then when I actually get everything final assembled, I'll finish up the wood. I just wanna make sure that the metal and the wood match up in size so that way you don't get a weird transition. But so far I think it's looking pretty nice, and I think once I finish these out and smooth together everything, it'll be a pretty nice look. Okay, now that I have everything cut out, I'm going to take some this epoxy. This is the stuff I like, works pretty well. Gonna put some on the back of these, just a little bit, so that way when it's on, it doesn't really move. There we go. Now I'll hammer that out. I'll do the same on this back piece, and then I'll put some on the inside of my wood, and then on these pins, of course. And then I'll put that through, so that way everything's held together. Since this is loose, the wood and the epoxy should hopefully prevent it from moving. And in theory, anyway. And then once that's dried, then I can finish up my handle. And that's my Dishonored Whaler's sword. Or honestly, I don't think this sword actually has a name. Or I don't think there's any names for the swords in the games besides the groups they belong to, come to think of it. No, that's not true. There are a few that do. Ironically, the main one doesn't. Anyway, that's not important. So yeah, this is for just having a chunk of pickaxe and not much else to do. Not bad for that. And I said I've been wanting to make one of these for a while, and because again, I love the Dishonored games. I kind of like the simplistic design of these. But like I said, I kind of want to make one of these that's longer. Yeah, I'm trying to knock that over. Like the ones in the game. But, you know, this is just kind of a fun, small build while I'm working on that. Look forward to that in a week or two. I don't know when it's going to get done.